Yo, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Mirror Recap, and today it's a very special episode of the Mirror Recap because we will be looking at the official simulation of what can happen in MPL ID for every single scenario. And we will go through the simulation that we have right here, so come with me. So here's a simulation already created by Apip. So shout out to Apips here. The nickname and everything is here already. So if you guys want to make or edit this by yourself, you guys can go ahead. But I am here to tell you guys each and every team's possibility to make it to playoffs, what needs to happen for them to actually not make it to playoffs, and all that. So we will go through all this very, very shortly. I will just reset everything to 00000, and we will give this a clear picture, a clear visualization. Just look at the schedule that hasn't been highlighted here. Ladies and gentlemen, the 9th week, this is the one that we will be looking at for these particular situations of which teams make it to playoffs or not. But firstly, before we get started, I do want to say Bigatron Alpha, Onic, and GeekFam are all safe. Bigatron Alpha have already secured the first place in the regular season, even if they lose to Onic. Onic have already secured the first or second slot of upper brackets. It doesn't matter if they lose all their matches and Aura win all their matches. Doesn't matter. They are already in the upper brackets. And for GeekFam as well, they have already secured playoffs. So for these three teams, it will not change. For Bigatron and Onic especially, it will not change. But for GeekFam, they could actually slip here and there in the standings, but they will still be 100% guaranteed in the playoffs. Teams who aren't safe is all the other teams below them. Aura, Evos, Rebellion, Alter Ego, and RRQ. Dewa out of playoff contention. So with that, let's talk about the scenario for every single team, starting with 4th place. We'll start things off with Aura Fire. And for Aura, it's actually very, very simple. All they need to do is secure one match win. If they get 2 match wins, it's great. 2-0 or 2-1. The first one match is all it counts for them to make it to playoffs. But this is the very specific scenario that needs to happen if Aura doesn't make it to playoffs. That can basically make Aura lose their playoff chance. Firstly, they need to lose both their matches in week number 9 in a 2-0 fashion. Against GeekFam 2-0, lose, and against Alter Ego 2-0, lose. Then, this will have to be continued by Rebellion winning both their matches and Alter Ego also winning both their matches. And it'll also have to add in the fact that Evos needs to win against Onic. That is a very, very specific scenario, and that's why I think, either way, Aura are technically safe. They are safer than all the teams because all these conditions need to be met if, Aura don't make it to playoffs. Again, I will repeat. If Aura don't make it to playoffs, this is the scenario. Aura lose both their matches in week number 9 in a 2-0 fashion. Rebellion win all their matches. Alter Ego win all their matches. And Evos win against Onic. That is the only scenario as to how Aura doesn't make it to playoffs. So let's move on to the next team. Next up is Evos Glory. And for Evos Glory, it is the same as Aura Fire. All they need to do is secure 1 match victory or, obviously 2 match victories, which will guarantee them a playoff spot. Now, how do they not make it to playoffs? Well, the first scenario is if this is the best scenario if you don't want Evos to make it to playoffs, which is RRQ winning both their matches 2-0 and Evos losing both their matches 2-0. If that's the case, let's edit that real quick. This is what is going to happen. So let's say RRQ win against Dewa 2-0. All right, you know what? Let's just say if RRQ just needed to win both their matches. RRQ win their matches against Dewa 2-1, and then RRQ win against Alter Ego 2-1, and Evos lose both their matches 2-0. Then this is what it's going to look like. Evos will be 7th place, and they will be out of playoffs where RRQ will barely make it to playoffs with -5 over -7 Evos Glory. But this is where it gets actually interesting because for Evos Glory, there's a chance of not just, obviously them not making it to playoffs, becoming a reality, but also there is a chance of a possible tiebreaker against RRQ, where even the head-to-head cannot determine who makes it to playoffs because head-to-head wise they are equal. So let me just break that down for you. So if RRQ, again, we won't change anything for RRQ. If RRQ win both their matches 2-1 and Evos lose both their matches 2-1, this creates a possible tiebreaker situation where, again, if you guys don't know how to read the MPL ID standings, you first go through the match point wins. So at this point, RRQ and Evos both have 2 wins, right? With that scenario earlier, 7 wins, 7 wins. We go then to the next thing that we need to look at, which is the game point, which is both also at -5 due to the results we spoke of earlier. Now, if this is the case, if the match point and the game point cannot determine who is ahead in the standings, we go to the team head-to-head. Their match history is basically the head-to-head. What happened in leg 1, what happened in leg 2. And fortunately or unfortunately for RQ and Evos, in leg number 1, RQ won 2-1, and in leg number 2, Evos won 2-1. Therefore, they will have the same head-to-head rating. Basically, 3-3 games, right? Because 2-1, 2-1 in both legs. So they are tied 3-3 in head-to-head, which means we might have an extra game played to determine who makes it to playoffs between RQ and Evos Glory. That is the scenario. But also, there's a different scenario for Evos to not make it to playoffs. And that scenario comes from what we see right here, actually. And that scenario comes from Alter Ego winning their 2 matches. Yeah. So it doesn't matter if Evos lose 2-1 or 2-0. If they lose both their matches and Alter Ego win both their matches, then Evos will be out of playoffs. So those are the 2 scenarios. So technically 3 scenarios. 2 scenarios for them to not make it to playoffs, and 1 scenario for them to be in a tiebreaker match against RRQ. Okay, so next we have Rebellion Esports, and I just, I was playing around with the simulation, and I found another possibility that MPL didn't even account for, which is freaking crazy. But apparently there's a possibility that RBL and Evos will be playing in a tiebreaker match here as well. So let's talk about that first. This is how RBL, well, firstly, let's talk about how they make it to playoffs, which is obviously by winning both their matches. If they want to secure playoffs 100%, they need to win both their matches. But they can also make it to playoffs if they just win one of their match and Alter Ego and RQ both lose one match. Okay, so if RQ and Alter Ego, they just lose one match, and Rebellion win one match, then it's all good. But now let's talk about the possible tiebreaker scenario here for Rebellion and Evos, because in MPL ID's Instagram, they actually accounted for the match, like the tie between the head-to-head between Rebellion and RRQ. But this could also happen between RBL and Evos, and this is how it can happen. So again, Rebellion need to win against Evos 2-1. And need to lose against GeekFam 2-1 for this possibility to happen. And then obviously, Evos also need to lose 2-1 against Onyx for this to happen, where both their match points will be the same, 7 and 7, and both their negative or their game point will be also the same, -5, -5. And again, if we see the same points, if match and game point, we then go to head-to-head. In the first leg, Evos beat RBL 2-1. In the second leg, if this scenario actually does happen, where RBL does beat Evos 2-1, and all the other matches will go the way that I said earlier, where it actually comes to this point, then it will also be an equal head-to-head, because again, Evos won the first leg head-to-head 2-1 against Rebellion, and Rebellion right here win the second leg head-to-head against Evos Glory, making them 3-3. Just like the previous example we had, making it so we might have another tiebreaker situation that MPL did not account for. And I have literally just found this based on luck. I was just randomly pressing these buttons. But there's also other ways where Rebellion don't make it to playoffs. And firstly, it's RBL winning 2-0 against Geek, but losing 2-0 against Evos, and then RQ wins 2-0 versus Dewa and Alter Ego. If that happens, then RBL will not make it to playoffs. The second condition for them to not make it to playoffs is if RBL loses both their matches 2-0 and Alter Ego just win one match. That is enough for RBL to not make it to playoffs. And then another scenario where RBL doesn't make it to playoffs is if RBL loses 2 times and RQ wins 2 times. That will also leave RBL out of the playoffs. And there's actually another very, very interesting tiebreaker situation right here, which is RBL wins 2-0 versus Geek. So let's just change that, RBL wins 2-0 against Geek. RBL wins 2-0 against Geek. And lose... Oh, sorry. They win 2-0 against... Yeah, they win 2-0 against Geek. And then they lose 2-0 against Evos. This is a tiebreaker situation. Then RRQ win 2-1 against Dewa. We got that. And wins 2-1 against Alter Ego. If this happens, we will have a tiebreaker situation against for the same, but it's different. Earlier we said about we spoke of the possibility of them losing to Evos, but here RQ versus Rebellion, this will be the tiebreaker. And again, same reasoning. If this particular scenario happens, then Match point 7-7, the same. Game point same. Head to head as well. First leg Rebellion were able to beat RRQ 2-0. Second leg RRQ beat Rebellion 2-0. So same head to head as well, and that will get the same treatment. So those are the situations for Rebellion. Now we move on to Alter Ego Esports, with one of the situations being this. This is if Alter Ego wants to qualify to playoffs, they can win both their matches in MPL Indonesia Season 13 week number 9. It doesn't matter if it's 2 or 2-1. If Rebellion lose one match, then they're good. So they need to win 2 matches, and Rebellion needs to lose 1 match for them to make it to the playoffs. Another situation will be if Alter Ego win 2-0 against Aura, which I have here already, and Alter Ego lose against RRQ. But RRQ lose against Dewa, and RBL loses 2 times. This will also make it... Okay, RBL lose 2 times, sorry. This situation will also make it so that Alter Ego will make it to playoffs as well. This is another condition for them to make it to playoffs. A very, very specific, turn of events. And then last but definitely not least, another option for Alter Ego to make it to playoffs is if Alter Ego win against RRQ. Let's change the score here for Alter Ego versus RRQ. If they win against RRQ but lose to Aura, it's still okay for them as long as RRQ lose against Dewa and RBL lose 2 times. So it's still the same. As long as RBL lose 2 times, if they win only 1 match, they can still make it to playoffs, and RRQ will also have to lose 1 match. That is the condition that needs to be met for Alter Ego to make it to playoffs. This is a very depressing part of the video, ladies and gentlemen. I am very, very sorry to say that, again, for Alter Ego, they are in a very tough spot where even if they win both their matches, they might still not make it to playoffs. And this is the scenario that can happen. As you can see from the match, results and the standings, even if Alter Ego win 2-0 in both their, final matches in week number 9, they can still not make it to playoffs. If RBL win 2 times, Evos win against Onyx, and Aura win against Geek. If those conditions are met, then even if Alter Ego win both their matches in 2-0 fashion, it doesn't matter. They are out of playoffs. Another way for Alter Ego to not make it to playoffs is if Alter Ego only wins 1 match and Rebellion only wins 1 match. That is also enough for Alter Ego to not make it to playoffs. And for RRQ, I'm very, very sorry, ladies and gentlemen. It is currently 3 a.m. in the morning. I've done so much research with that simulation to a point where, I've wasted so much time trying to find a way to explain to you guys. So for the RRQ one, let's get straight to it. No simulation this time because I've already gone through it and I don't want to go through it again. It's it's tiring. Anyways, for RRQ to make it to the playoffs, all they need to do is win 2 matches, 2-0, and RBL have to lose just 1 match. That'll be enough for RRQ to make it to playoffs. Another condition for RRQ to make it to playoffs is if RRQ lose against Dewa, but Alter Ego lose in both their matches and RBL lose in both their matches 2-0. If that happens as well, RRQ will still be able to make it to playoffs. Now let's talk about the elimination possibility of RRQ. If RRQ win both their matches, unfortunately for RRQ, it's also very, very sad because they will have to rely on other teams to lose for them to make it there. So even if RRQ win both their matches 2-0, if RBL win twice, they're done. They're not going to make it to playoffs. Another way where RRQ doesn't make it to playoffs is if RRQ win both their matches with a score of 2-1 and RBL just win one of their matches with a 2-0 score, then lose in another match with a 2-1 score, that will also lose RRQ the playoff spot. Another very last elimination point is if RRQ lose both their matches. If the RRQ lose both their matches, they are completely out of the playoffs. That's very, very easy. But then there are ways where RRQ can actually go in tiebreaker. And luckily for us, we've already kind of spoke about the tiebreaker earlier. The first one being RBL losing 1-2 and then winning 2-0 in one of their matches, where RRQ also wins 1-2 or 2-1 and also 2-0 in their matches. That will create a point where RBL and RRQ, like we said in the RBL part of the video, that it could be an RRQ versus RBL head-to-head tiebreaker because their head-to-head is also the same, 2-0 in first leg and second leg. And then another possibility will be the 3-way tie possibility, where RRQ wins both their matches in 2-1, Evos lose both their matches in 2-1, and RBL win 2-1 against Evos and lose 2-1 against Geek. If that happens, then we will have a 3-way tiebreaker. Hopefully that's enough for you guys, and I'm very, very sorry if this video was confusing, and I'm very sorry for the last part being just like this, because I've gone through that simulation so many times, and again, I'm very, very sorry. It's 3 a.m. I need to get ready for tomorrow's MPL. Just try to get this as fast as possible. Very sorry for the video if you guys don't understand, and if you do understand and enjoy, please click a like button. Please let me know what you guys think about the season. Let me know what you guys think about the results, what you guys think will happen tomorrow, and I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens in Season 13. Peace out.